And this new variant, has really brought
This
home the
is
point that
Antigua
we
Show.
all need to act with some level of alacrity, and we have to do this, for the benefit of the entire community. Because, if as scientists are projecting that this particular variant, the Omicron, could be more deadly and more transmittable, then it means that it could end up here in the Caribbean too. The fact that it's already in the UK, which is one of our major source markets, you can be assured that if there's any significant spread in the United Kingdom, it will end up here in the Caribbean. It will end up here in Antigua and Barbuda. Interestingly, Antigua and Barbuda could be one of the first countries, in the sense that we now have, relatively good UK traffic. And we have to monitor the
This
development of this
is
particular
Antigua
strain within
Show.
the upcoming weeks. Certainly within the next 2 to 3 weeks, we have to look at the situation in the UK to see whether or not this strain has emerged as a significant strain. And if it has, if it does for that matter, then, we're going to have to make some changes. Even the relaxation of the curfew and the state of emergency, we may have to reconsider our position. I mean, it's something that is a development that the cabinet is monitoring very carefully, so that we can make a final determination maybe a couple of weeks from now as to whether or not we will honor that initial offer or initial pledge to end the state of emergency and the curfew. I mean, these are measures that are required to manage any escalation in COVID. Admittedly, COVID cases are significantly down, hospitalizations are down, deaths have literally stabilized at about 117. So at this point, we're in a relatively good place,
This
but
is
the
Antigua
situation is
Show.
very fluid and could change in a couple of weeks. As it stands now, that policy initiative to lift the state of emergency and the curfew on the 23rd still stands, but it could be reviewed and reversed depending on any significant spread of this new variant, and whether or not there's any vaccine escape. And this is where the real risk is. So if this particular variant could escape the current vaccines, then it creates a fundamental problem for the entire planet. It means that all of us will be practically unvaccinated, and will have to get vaccinated again by some new vaccination or some variant to the existing vaccines. That is what we're faced with at this point. So we just have to hope and pray that the current vaccines will be able to protect us from hospitalization and death against this new variant. The good news is, though, in the case of Antigua and Barbuda, we have a reasonably large percentage of our population that is vaccinated, and we just want to use this opportunity to
This
issue
is
a clarion
Antigua
call
Show.
for those who remain unvaccinated to do so as soon as possible. Because when you look at the increased risk associated with this new variant, we don't know how it's going to treat even the healthy, even those without comorbidities or any underlying health conditions. So the important thing to do now is to get vaccinated, and at the same time to continue to practice the various health protocols, because those are what kept us safe when we didn't have any vaccines. And they are equally important today, or perhaps even more important from the standpoint that we could end up with a variant that could evade the vaccines. And I want to also encourage those on the front line in particular, our port health workers, our taximen, vendors, those in the medical field, to become a little more vigilant. And they too need to ensure that they are vaccinated. And especially during this Yuletide season, where we'll see an increase in traffic, there are going to be lots of parties and fetes and so on, especially if we relax the curfew and or end the curfew and the state of emergency. And again, we want people to have a good time, but at the same time, we're very worried about any significant or any potential for significant COVID spread. Now, insofar as the fetes are concerned, those will be operated under strict
This
protocols,
is
and there'll be a
Antigua
limit to the
Show.
amount of people who can attend those fetes. And again, I'm assuming that the situation remains the same going into the 23rd, because even the hosting of FETs will be reconsidered if Omicron becomes a significant threat. So the idea of having these FETs or even having large socializations, those could go out the window if Omicron becomes a significant threat. But assuming it doesn't, then these FETs will operate on the strict protocols. And one of the new protocols that we will introduce is the testing of all patrons before they enter the venue. So the government will be purchasing some test kits that we can get for under 10 EC dollars. And the whole idea is to retail them at cost to these operators. So all they need to do is to probably add maybe $5-10 to the ticket in order to cover the testing. So you not only have to be fully vaccinated, but you'll also have to test before you enter the venue. We have to now increase our COVID surveillance, especially in light of this new threat. And we will also utilize some of those test kits to give to individuals or encourage individuals to buy them if you choose to sell them for a nominal sum, so they can test at home on a routine basis. We think that is absolutely critical so that we can capture any infection at an early stage and to apply the appropriate treatment. As you know, we're also trying to get these antiviral drugs from Pfizer and Merck. So we have written to Pfizer to indicate our interests. Those negotiations are taking place with health officials and Pfizer, and we're hoping that perhaps by the latest January, we'll be able to get in those antivirals as we seek to expand the tools that we have to fight COVID. Again, we're doing all in our power to make sure that we keep our people safe. But ultimately, it is the efforts and the discipline of our people that will determine the extent of hospitalizations and deaths.